The Mercedes team of 2022 are nothing like the beast that dominated the previous 8 years of Formula 1. They've struggled to match the pace of rivals like Red Bull and Mercedes, and at times have looked vulnerable to some of the perennial midfield teams like Alpine. Every weekend, we're expecting an upgrade on their car that will get them back on track to compete at the front. But every weekend, we're left disappointed. So why is it taking so long for Mercedes to upgrade their car? Well, let's have a look at the start of the season first to see what went wrong originally. Mercedes realised the problems with its 2022 Formula 1 car much too late, because it was relying too much on its Bahrain test upgrade according to Toto Wolff. It ran in a different configuration at the opening Barcelona test, before bringing a significant upgrade package to the second pre-season test in Bahrain, which included the strikingly minimised sidepod concept. But Wolff said that caused the reigning Constructors' Champion team to stumble upon circumstances which made us realise that we had an issue much too late. Mercedes was left grappling the porpoising problem that made the W13 a difficult car for Lewis Hamilton and George Russell to tame, and a package that looked far slower than Red Bull and Ferrari. Knowing the Bahrain test package was coming left Mercedes looking at the results and the data from the first test in maybe not the same way you should be. According to Wolff, in an apparent hint that it wasn't looking close enough at the car to discover its underlying problem at Barcelona, because it had so much faith in the upgrades that were coming. When we put the car on the road in Bahrain, we were really surprised with the problems that we had, Wolff explained. It took a while to understand them. Now we're in the process of dialing them out. But dialing it out means just applying the science and the scrutiny and the hard work. Physics, not mystics. It was a bad start to the season for Mercedes. Their choice to not show the real W13 until the second test was made because they didn't want anyone else to copy their ideas. But it really came back to bite them. Their simulations didn't account for porpoising, and they weren't alone in that. But by not testing their actual car in Barcelona, they gave themselves 3 less days of data to work with when trying to find a solution, and 2 less weeks to work on that data as well. George Russell recently doubled down on his belief that Mercedes W13 has plenty of potential in it, once it's optimized despite its early problems. We're a long way behind Ferrari and Red Bull, said Russell. I think we're probably further behind them in Jeddah than in Bahrain, and we understand why. But obviously, when I think we had things optimized, or more optimized in Bahrain, we were still half a second, 6 tenths behind. We need to trust the process and bring the upgrades when we have total faith and confidence they'll do as we expect. So that will be a number of races before we start seeing that. This has been a sentiment that team boss Toto Wolff has shared as well. The team is confident that once the upgrades everyone is talking about, they will get to the front of the grid. But what's taking it so long to get there? The Italian Grand Prix will mark 6 weeks since the Bahrain testing, but Mercedes seem no closer to taking their car to the next level than they were during race week 1. To start with, 2022 has seen a reduction in the amount of money each team can spend, making it much harder to come up with updates compared to 2021. Whereas top teams could throw money around in the past to make the car better, they now have to abide by a budget cap. So each step in the process must be carefully considered before rushing to put updates on the car. Simon Shortemps worked for years as an engineer for Sauber, Renault and Lotus in F1, and sees the big teams struggle with these limitations. He told the media that he's surprised that Mercedes has not yet bought updates. It's clear that they need to understand what the problems are first, said the Frenchman. There's also the fact that the budget cap is a big problem, especially for the big teams like Mercedes. In the past, they would have brought 2, 3 or 4 different wings and floors, but they can't do that anymore, says the former engineer. He therefore thinks that Mercedes will soon come to the circuit with a completely new car in one go. They'll probably wait until they have a whole package, that's my expectation. Instead of 1 new floor, they'll bring a B-spec car. I think that will be the case very soon, concludes the former race engineer of Kimi Räikkönen. While George Russell has commented on the lack of pace his car has, he's had a strong start to the season. Russell scored his first podium as a Mercedes driver with a 3rd place at the Australian Grand Prix. The British driver benefited from Max Verstappen's latest DNF and a timely safety car to jump ahead of Mercedes teammate Lewis Hamilton. Russell's consistent start to the season has put him second in the Constructors' Championship after 3 rounds, 34 points off Charles Leclerc. Similarly, Mercedes' strong reliability in the early rounds of the season means it's ahead of Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship. When asked about his apparent success so far this season, Russell said, "It's definitely not based on pace, but I think it's been a reasonable start to the season in terms of how we've managed to optimize our lack of performance. And I think every race we've done, we've truly maximized the result possible. I don't think we could have achieved a higher result at any of the circuits as a team, and that is, I guess, a silver lining. But unfortunately, there's nothing substantial in the pipeline anytime soon. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a number of races." So according to Russell, the team is firing on all cylinders over the weekend. The problems lie back at the factory. As we said before, the cost cap is what's holding them back. Russell's comments back up the opinions of Simon Chautemps that the team are likely to bring a full car upgrade instead of bringing a new wing one week and a new floor the next. Despite his strong start to the year, Russell insisted that he's more focused on helping Mercedes recover its speed, not his battle with Lewis Hamilton. "These small things in the scheme of things don't mean a lot really," Russell added. "Obviously, everybody wants to finish ahead of their teammate, but Lewis and I have no interest in battling it out for P5 or P6, and we want to work together to claw that gap back. Hopefully, with the drivers working together, the team will be able to get back to their winning ways soon." And with the team working together, Toto Wolff seems confident that Mercedes can make the necessary changes to get the team back on track. Though confident, he is trying to hold back expectations for what Mercedes can do in the short term. Toto claims it does not make sense to bring any upgrades for the car for the next weekend's Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, as they are yet to solve the outstanding issues. Many fans and journalists have suggested that this is a good time to upgrade the cars before practice begins next weekend. Wolff insisted that they need to unlock the aerodynamic potential of the car as a priority, which can be done by getting to the root of the problem. The team needs more time in assessing the problem, so that corrections can be made. Upgrading the car without diagnosing the problem would cause more confusion and trouble than solving the problem, he said. "We're just learning the car. We're learning the tyres. Nothing we did this weekend has unlocked the aerodynamic potential or has reduced the bouncing. We're still in the same place. That's why it doesn't make any sense to bring updates, because you're confusing yourself even more. Maybe it's even the fact that the more downforce you bring, the worse the bouncing gets. So we're still learning." Speaking of the timeline, Wolff was unsure when he and his team would get to the root of it, something that could deny them a 9th Constructors' Championship in a row. Adding that this was one of the more difficult years of his tenure, Toto said, "I'm optimistic that eventually we're going to get there. Whether that's in 2 races or 5 or by the end of the season, I don't know. But you need to stay humble. My time horizon is not a race weekend or a year. It's more like 10 years. I want to look back and have a competitive team. And there will be years when it's more difficult, and this is one. It is wise to learn and adapt to the changes that have come into play this season. But with Toto being rather too flexible with the timeline, is Mercedes being too optimistic in their approach? After all, time is what matters in a race. Or is the team being clever and wise by just staying afloat for now so that it can set a firm foundation for the long haul? Let us know in the comment section down below what you think. And on your way out of our pit box, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit that notification bell to be sure you don't miss out on any of our content. Till we see you next time, drive safe and bye bye.